Well, arguably, this was a gamble too far. President Jun Suk-yeol's declaration and rapid withdrawal of martial law today has plunged South Korea into one of its most significant political crises in decades, and ostensibly justified as a measure to eliminate anti-state forces and restore order. The move was overwhelmingly rejected by South Korea's National Assembly, triggering widespread protests, raising alarms among international allies at a time already of great global tension. Jun's declaration was the first invocation of martial law in South Korea since 1979, a period marked by military coups and authoritarian rule, and this historical echo won't go unnoticed. Critics, including figures within Jun's own People Power party, accused the president of overreach. Notably, Han Dong-hoon, a former protege, condemned the measure as unlawful, and even military commanders were reluctant to enforce the decree once it had been declared. Jun's swift climb-down, marked by a televised address, highlighted his precarious position, a leader battling an opposition-controlled parliament, internal dissent, and public discontent over unresolved scandals. The parliamentary vote rejecting martial law, supported by 190 lawmakers, underscored Jun's diminishing political capital, and protesters outside the National Assembly and critical international statements from the US, the UK, Germany amplified the crisis. Jun's actions have not only threatened the administration's stability, but have also strained South Korea's image as a robust democracy in Asia. Jun's critics argue that his actions evoke South Korea's authoritarian past, undermining the democratic gains achieved since the 1980s, and General Park An-soo's measures under the martial law order, such as banning political activity, media control, and warrantless detentions, were stark reminders of a repressive government. And this episode raises questions about the resilience of South Korea's democratic institutions under stress. As a key US ally, South Korea's stability is critical to the region's security, and the US, with 28,500 troops stationed in the country, understandably expressed grave concern, but stopped short of direct involvement. Jun's gambit risks eroding or eradicating trust and complicating military coordination, especially as North Korea continues to act provocatively with its recent barrage of short-range missiles. The turmoil provides propaganda material for the North, which frequently criticizes Seoul's political systems as corrupt and unstable. And North Korea may exploit the crisis to justify its own militarization and anti-South rhetoric, emboldening perceptions of internal division in the South. That's propaganda which isn't needed at this moment. Jun's actions come at a time when democracy faces challenges from authoritarianism and populism, and his willingness to invoke military rule over political gridlock resonates with concerns about leaders exploiting crises to consolidate power. It's a lesson that we can learn. European nations, including Germany and Ireland, have called for adherence to constitutional norms, framing the incident as a litmus test for democratic resilience in volatile times. Jun's retreat may momentarily de-escalate tension, but it's unlikely to resolve the underlying challenges. And the rejection of martial law has invigorated his opposition, eroded his authority, alienated segments of his conservative base. Analysts now question whether he can complete his term. Almost certainly not, with some predicting intensified impeachment efforts in the next few days, if not weeks. In a region defined by global tension, particularly with North Korea's militancy and China's expanding influence, South Korea's internal stability was crucial, and that has now been shaken to the core. Huge efforts are going to be made. Huge efforts are needed now to re-establish authority and stability. This episode underscores the dangers of executive overreach and highlights the importance of safeguarding democratic institutions against the impulse of authority. With the world watching, South Korea's response sets a precedent not only for its future, but for democracies navigating crises across the globe.